All right, welcome back, everybody, to Let's Talk About Sleep. Here's part 2 of, I guess, last month's Q&A. A lot of things to go over. Thank you for everybody who participated. As I always say, you get this book, the first book, the book that this channel is based on, Let's Talk About Sleep, on Amazon. The new one has just come out, The Story of Sleep from A to ZZZ, also on Amazon. So feel free to pick those up, and thank you for everyone who already has and for the support. As I always say, these videos are for education only. With that, let's get right to it. Okay, so Cataphrenia, my Cataphrenia video had a lot of questions on that. And let's do it. So Zoe says, my boyfriend does this. I find it hilarious, but he really is sleepy all the time. I said he should get an evaluation. That's what I wrote back to you on YouTube, which I stand by. You know, Cataphrenia, it's Cataphrenia if other things are kind of ruled out, right? So, you know, if somebody's making noise or kind of groaning or gasping or anything like that in sleep, you know, the first thing we think about is, could this be sleep apnea? If that has been ruled out with a sleep test, yeah, then you can kind of say that's what it is and it's benign. But if your boyfriend's tired, I would take it a little bit more seriously. All right. Valerie writes, I think I have this. Again, Cataphrenia. I've had multiple sleep studies which come up with nothing. I recently got my deviated septum fixed. Every time I sleep, I get to the point where I groan and wake myself up. Maybe. It could be. You know, how do you treat Cataphrenia? I mean, there's some data to show that CPAP works. The problem, though, is getting a CPAP approved for this might be impossible because insurances would not cover it. So it's kind of hard to say. You know, if in theory somebody could buy a CPAP and just try it and see if that works, that might be useful, but it's you're not alone. Kayla writes, I wish there was more research and information on this. I agree. I feel like Cataphrenia negatively impacts my quality of life, but I can really find information on how to treat the issue. Well, you're in luck, this channel. Yeah, I would suggest talking to a sleep specialist and seeing what they say for both of you, for both you and Valerie. Talking to a local sleep specialist and see what they think. You know, if they can get you on a CPAP or try to word the note in such a way that insurance would cover it, or direct you as far as getting just one over the counter, buying one out of pocket. You know, you probably get one for a couple $100 at this point. That might be useful for you. Okay. Katie writes, my sister does this and it's so loud I can hear from another room and it drives me insane. I'm going to say to you like what I said to Baizawi, is that probably should have a sleep evaluation, which is what I said. And then Katie wrote back, she denies that it's her, even when I've recorded her doing it. She naps on the couch in the living room. When she naps on the couch in the living room. Yeah, show her this video, show her that video. She may be doing it, she may have sleep apnea, so hopefully she wants to look into it. Because, you know, if it's sleep apnea, it's a little bit more serious than Cataphrenia. All right. Next is comments on sleep-related hallucinations. So Raza writes, it's hard to explain, but for the past year, I've had big problems with sleeping, and all started with sleep apnea, where my throat completely shuts down, plus a feeling of feel like I'm falling from a high building. It's getting worse. I sleep very bad because of this. I smoked a lot of cannabis as a youth and paranoid schizophrenia. Maybe medication will help. What is your opinion about these symptoms? Please advise. Yeah, I would definitely get a sleep test. For sure, I would get a sleep test because if you have sleep apnea, that has to be treated. If you treat the sleep apnea, a lot of these other things may get better, but I would definitely take this seriously. This is not something therapy is going to help with. I think getting a sleep evaluation is first. Draco writes, I have the same thing. I can't feel it. I can't explain it, but it feels like sleep paralysis, but I can still move and walk around. I get this weird feeling where I have to do something, and I panic. I have no idea what it is, but I've been looking for ages. It says you're 10. Well, Draco, I definitely would talk to your pediatrician if you're 10 about this, and talk to a pediatric sleep specialist. At least your pediatrician should know about this. I'm not really sure what to make of that. If you're 10, that's odd. Well, I would say this. Sleepwalking is very common in children. I don't know if that's what this is. Sleep terrors can also happen in kids. That's where people scream out. But definitely a sleep evaluation. I think all the folks that I talked about today probably would do well with a sleep evaluation. Let us know how you do. All right, my next one is on delayed sleep phase. I'll save that one for next. On my last month's video of Q&A, someone asked me, have you ever heard of using flumenazole or clarithromycin on someone with IH? Yes, I have. I've actually tried. So IH is idiopathic hypersomnia, and clarithromycin is an antibiotic. I've tried that in a few patients, have had no success. There are some data to suggest that it works, but they're kind of case reports. Flumenazole I have not. It's really only distributed, I believe it's Emory. It's the only place that really does it as for clinical use. I've heard of it. It does. The data suggests it works, but again, it's very, very minimal data. And then Tim A. also writes, do you think narcolepsy type 2 could be misdiagnosed instead of UARS? That's an interesting point. No, not really. I mean, fatigue, sure. Narcolepsy type 2, I mean, that the PSG and MSLT, that's the overnight test and the nap test, that's pretty concrete as far as, I mean, the findings are pretty concrete if they're there, and someone's not going to get misdiagnosed. So if you think you have narcolepsy, you get those tests done and it shows that there's, the parameters we look for, you're going to get, diagnosed as narcolepsy. UARS, it oftentimes is not going to show sleepiness. It's really going to show fatigue, which sounds like the same thing, but they're not. Sleepiness is going to show up on a MSLT, that nap test. It's going to show up as somebody is sleepy. Fatigue person will not. And that's kind of where the difference lies. Good question, though. And then on my advanced sleep phase syndrome, which is, again, people falling asleep too early, Jack writes, can you have both? I guess he means both advanced and delayed sleep phase syndrome. Not really. I mean, I guess, typically delayed sleep phase tends to happen in teenage years. Advanced sleep phase tends to happen as we get older. So I guess it's possible somebody could have it, one in the earlier part of their life and then the other in the later part of their life, I guess. But it doesn't really make sense because they're both, they're two completely separate or two opposite ends of the spectrum. Now, having circadian misalignment, that can certainly happen in somebody, and that can cause them to have irregular sleep, or the sleep is kind of all over the place. That has to do more solely with psychiatric stuff. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, so the last few ones, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, these are all on delayed sleep phase and a couple of other ones. I think I'll save that for one more video because I don't want to make these too long. We'll do one more video on that next time, and keep the questions coming. I hope I hope you guys ask a lot of great questions today. Hopefully this gave you some insight. And until next time, everybody, sleep well.